live on a completely different timeline. You know, welcome everyone to the show. It's your favorite truck driver, ex-truck driver, Bitcoin Ben, and the partner in crypto. I don't want to say crime, nothing like that. That'd be bad. The partner in crypto business, Patrick. He's in St. Louis and I'm in Florida. This is the very first official Florida broadcast for me. And Patrick is up in Arnold, Missouri. He's holding down the CALIX fort. And Florida is absolutely, I cannot wait until you guys come down. You're going to love this whole area. It's great food and just very different. Everything's slower here. You know, just like...
Well, even the driving. Your wife's head is going to explode.
Yeah, no, maybe when the snowbirds get here, but right now the locals will run you over.
Yeah, but there are aged residents who are not snowbirds, who drive golf carts at like 5 miles an hour and don't give a rat's ass. And don't give a rat's ass if you got to wait.
They don't. This is God's waiting room.
Oh, yes, it is.
Right. Number 367.
Yeah. Now serving 367. Yeah.
In fact, I was at a where was I this morning? Dunkin' Donuts, having some coffee with a friend, and I said, "Is this not the waiting room from Beetlejuice?" Or because there were like so many people. You could tell they give zero shits about the clothes they wear.
Right.
It looked like every guy was heading out playing golf in the most 1970s polyester outfit they could find. And the women that were there drinking coffee were there to, I think, pick up the old men that were drinking coffee. It was like a singles club for elderly. They're like, "So do you blue pill?" And I'm thinking, oh my God.
Yeah.
This place is horrible. I want to address, Tom had a great post here earlier, segment on OAN. Now, what is that? That's it's a news channel.
Yeah. It's been out there for probably about 4 years now, if not 5. It's a conservative news channel, and they are actually being delisted by DirecTV.
I heard that.
Yeah. DirecTV is woke.
Well, they're going to woke their ass right out of business.
Well, the satellite business is on the wane, and I know if Bix were listening, he would be making a comment that Theta is going to replace the satellite business.
Maybe they will.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And don't get me wrong, I love the Theta
Yep.
project.
Yep.
In fact, I think at the officer we run a Theta node. No.
We don't yet. We have Theta. We're going to be running it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. It's and that's what I wanted to actually bring up is that they actually did a segment on OAN on the getting paid in cryptos over getting paid in fiat, because you're losing so much of your purchasing power getting paid in dollars. I don't remember the exact breakdown, but apparently, if you're getting paid in dollars, you're losing 1% purchasing power every 2.5 months right now, or something like that. That adds up to about 6.5 a year, or like almost 6% that you're losing every year. That's no good. And then I'm watching Bloomberg this morning, and they have all of a sudden they're pro crypto again, and they're asking these like CEOs, what are your thoughts on cryptos? Every CEO was like, oh yeah, we're definitely into it. Our clients are into it. We're into it. We're pushing for an ETF, and we're doing all that. And the host is like, really, with all the risk involved? And every CEO's like, risk? There's risk in holding the dollar. Are you crazy? It was like, if you look at Bitcoin over a 4-year period, why wouldn't you hold your reserves in something that, because these corporations, especially these universities, are pouring endowment money into cryptos, because that's long-term hodls. Hell, some of them got like billions of dollars in their endowments. Now, you went to the Kansas City College, right?
Yeah, it was Rockhurst University in Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah, I'm assuming they have an endowment.
Yes.
Do you contribute?
Occasionally, yeah.
Whenever they deserve it.
Yeah, they on a regular basis they do something to piss me off, and I let the president know. My brother does the same thing. My brother went there with me, and Father Tom is liberation theology is not something too far from his heart, and I got a problem with that. So,
yeah. Nothing will piss off Patrick like a good liberation theologist.
Yeah.
And if you don't know why, look up liberation theology,
South America.
South America, Catholic Church, and you'll find out why. Like, it's perfectly fine if you want to be a cross-dressing Satanist. You can still be a Catholic. Wait, I'm pretty sure we got rules against that.
Yeah. That's American Catholicism. It's a cafeteria style. I'll have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. No, I don't want that. Nope.
Yeah, those whole.
That's a little too rigid. Yeah.
Yeah. How solid are we on the 10 Commandments? Is there any give there?
Yeah.
You mean the things written in stone?
Yeah.
Not much give.
Yeah, there really isn't. But
Oh my God. That's hilarious. But I mean, in Florida, now I'm squirreling all over the place like usual. Florida is very pro crypto. I've actually met several people who have walked up like, "Hey, you're banned. What's going on with this?" And I talk with them. They're like, "Oh yeah, we got meetups, down here. We got a big meetup over here." And I'm like, "My peoples." And everyone right now, there's two things that they're seriously focused on. Number one, inflation. Number two, securing their cryptos. And that's why we have Mr. Patrick here this morning for the Monday morning security report. It's not getting no better. The hackers are out in full force. It is. So what's out there you can see, and once again, if you do not have a Calyx laptop, you're crazy. You are absolutely crazy. What's going on, Patrick?
well, we had a couple of incidents last week, and this information is going to be posted within the portal. We're creating a section in there called Cybersecurity, and within there, we're going to put notices about what's taking place. If we have examples, we'll post those as to what's being sent out, what's being received by our folks. Interestingly, we had a gentleman who received an email from Exodus saying that 90,000 accounts had been breached, and that his email address was identified as one of those. And they were sending him this notification in order to let him know, and he needed to go out there and change his PIN. They said PIN, and his get 12 new seed phrase lists. Words, excuse me. And if all of you recall, some of you may not remember this, but in the process of getting your Exodus wallet put into place, you were not asked for an email address. You did not give them an email address. There is no email address tied to your account. They don't know who you are. They don't know your name. They don't have any way of getting in touch with you other than to respond to an email that you submit to their support group. So this was a bunch of hooey. These guys were phishing. Unfortunately, this gentleman went with his gut that told him this stinks. I I don't believe it. I'm going to get a hold of the guys at Calyx and run it past them. So as soon as he got it to me, I called him up, let him know that it's BS and that I was verifying with Exodus. I sent it to Exodus, and in 7 minutes, I had a response back from them saying this was in fact a phishing exercise, and avoid this at all costs. So again, everybody listen to your gut. If it says this is I got a bad vibe from this, go with it. Fortunately, he was able to walk away from it, send it to us. We'll post it inside of the cybersecurity section in the portal, so you can see what's being sent out. Again, we talk about this in the do's and don'ts. We've talked about it in videos in the past. These guys, Exodus, Atomic, will not send you an email. They can't. They don't have your email address. The IRS will not send you an email. Apple will not send you an email, nor will Microsoft, to that effect. If somebody says they're monitoring your laptop and have identified that it's corrupted, that's a bunch of crap, because we don't do that. Nobody does that. The only person that can do that is somebody who's put software on your laptop that allows them access, which is in violation of the principles that we live by and that we work with you folks through. It's not something that we would ever do. Decentralized, it's yours, it's your bank, your cryptos. We don't want to know about it. It's funny, I was talking to a guy last week, and he asked me, he said, I'm embarrassed to ask you this, but how do I know that you guys aren't doing something, backdoor? And I said, don't be embarrassed. That's a fair question. If it doesn't run through your mind, or if it does and you don't ask about it, you're missing an opportunity to satisfy your curiosity and your need to know. And I appreciate a jaded skeptic who asks that question. You don't know that we haven't done that, but I will tell you.
Whoa. No.
I will tell you this: there is no amount of money out there that would cause me to do something that could put my ass in jail. Ain't happening. I don't care what you have. When I worked at the Federal Reserve Bank, when I worked at the Federal Reserve Bank, I was on their police force for a while, and we had security details by vaults, and there were vaults. There were money carts that were 4.5 feet tall, 3 feet wide, 3 feet deep. They held $100 million in $100 bills. I had those things going by me on a regular basis. Didn't even flinch. It's just, there's stuff that's just not worth it. And prior to that, I worked in a prison. So, it was one of those, ain't happening.
Yeah.
Homie ain't playing that game. Don't care.
Yeah.
I'm doing my job. That's it. And I told him, I said, I do appreciate the question. You don't know, but I can tell you this: I'm not going to prison for your shit, and that's the God's honest truth. Now, there was a second instance that happened, and somebody received texts from Bitcoin Ben about getting involved in an investment project. No, ain't happening. Ben doesn't solicit that. And if you read the text, he doesn't speak that way. It was, I think, somebody who was not born in the United States. I think it was somebody who's been doing this sort of thing for a while, and just a little too polished.
That is
and
one
not
thing
and
I am
philosophically,
not.
not in line with Ben, and Ben's approach to things. It was join us on this platform and you'll be able to take your investments out on a daily basis. It was just a bunch of hooey, and I, I was kind of I laughed when I saw it because I thought this is absolutely aberrant. It is not the way that Ben talks. It's not part of Ben's philosophy to get people to actually direct folks in terms of how they should invest their money. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, this is not financial advice.
Yeah.
Because we don't do that at Calyx. It's just not something that we do and won't
How
do.
many times
Yeah.
do I have to say, I will never reach out to anybody on Twitter, on Facebook, on any platform
Text.
saying, especially text, hey, there's this trading platform that that I'm running, or I don't trade. I'm a hodler. I'm an investor. I'm not a trader.
And that was one of the things that struck me is that you're talking about long-term involvement in this. Find a project that you like, purchase it, do your research, get to know it, purchase it a little bit at a time, whatever you can afford, whatever you can lose, and hold on to it for dear life. It has no involvement in day trading. Yeah. So that struck me as being odd as well.
It's last time I counted, there were 14 people all over social media pretending to be me. And I send in requests. I can't tell you how many times I have sent in a copy of my trademark of my name. My name, which is Bitcoin Ben, is trademarked. I send it in to like Facebook or Twitter or whoever, Twitch or whoever else. And I go, look, I own the brand, I own the label, I'm trademarked. And, oh, okay. And then it will take them months to take it down.
Yeah, but go ahead and post something on ivermectin and you're shut down like that.
Oh, absolutely. You're done. You're done for. It's there's so many people getting robbed using good solid bread because all they're doing is they are copying my logo and then copying my Facebook page or whatever, then just randomly reaching out to people. And I tell everybody, there's only two ways in the world that anybody's going to get a hold of me. Number one, Patreon. Number two, Calyx Solutions. Now, with Calyx Solutions, that is if you have a, hey, Ben, just want to say, hey, when are you doing a show on blah? That's a message for Patreon. Now, if you want professional assistance with cryptos or anything like that, any like consulting, anything like that's Calyx. In fact, soon we'll have the ability for the general public to reach out and I actually set up Zooms with me and Patrick. That's in the future. Oh, yeah. That's in the future. But right now, no. But what we do have, and this is another reason I tell people, this is why you get a crypto laptop, right? You come over here, you choose which one you want, Windows or Apple. You purchase the laptop. Once you purchase the laptop, you have an account at CALIX Solutions. Then you log in to the portal. On the other side of the portal is a bunch of how-to videos, a lot of Patrick actually posts all of the security warnings. You get updates on all kinds of stuff. But in order to get that, you have to be a client of Calyx, which means you have to have gotten a laptop. Because what this portal is it's a continuing education site for your laptop and yourself. So as we actually get like more nodes, more master nodes, actual like micro nodes, and all that rolling out for your laptop, that will be in your portal. That information you'll receive an email, or I will mention it on the show. Hey, we got an update. Go to the portal. Voila. And Patrick, every Monday, he'll actually come on, walk us through general on like what he's hearing out there. Because Patrick's old school. I don't know if you guys know. Patrick, in his younger days, like back in his early 40s, we're talking 60, 80 years ago, right? He was so good at hearing problems that the Indians hired him to train their warriors on how to listen, put their ear to the ground. And Patrick, a lot of people don't know this, that Patrick's Indian name is Patrick Ear to the Ground Condon.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that either. Okay.
You didn't know that? Oh yeah, you are American Indian like folklore legend. They say, how white men hear so good. Oh, it's Monday. Good Lord. Yeah. All right, let's get a word from the sponsor real quick.
Are you buying and selling cryptos on the same laptop that you're using to browse the internet, read your email, and visit social media sites? If so, you're exposing your cryptos to theft. Whenever you're online, you're at risk of getting hacked and having your identity stolen. How would you feel if someone stole all of your cryptos? What would that do to your finances? Guard your cryptos with a safe and secure laptop from Calyx Solutions. Each laptop is set up just for you and your cryptos, and then we walk you through exactly how it works. Don't risk the security of your cryptos. Order a crypto laptop from CALIX Solutions now to secure your crypto future. Learn more at calixsolutions.io.
All right, we got a message from Bobby. Hoping Ben gets back to talking about the Fed is bringing the globe to its knees. Last week, there was a meeting in Wyoming called Jackson Hole. And the Federal Reserve, the head of the Federal Reserve,
Powell.
Powell, he actually came out and he basically said, no matter what happens, we are going to continue raising rates. And I think the exact quote was, even at the cost of economic pain. So now the Fed is a proctologist.
Yeah.
Because we're all about to get plucked.
With the fingers of an offensive lineman.
And no KY.
No.
They're going in dry, folks.
Yeah, and wearing their championship ring while they do it.
Exactly. We're in deep trouble, folks. And this is on purpose. That they're blaming inflation for bringing down the Western world economy. They cranked it all up with COVID. They wrecked the supply chain. Now that the supply chain's trying to get back on its feet, they're going to knock the friggin' demand out of the supply chain. Because right now, Walmart, all of these places are now saying that their warehousing is filling up because everything's overpriced and people aren't actually buying as much. Everybody with any economic historical memory at all understands that once you get about 8 months worth of inflation, it reaches a point where you drop into deflation because of overproduction. So we're in deep trouble, especially the house. Have you seen the cliff, Patrick, that the housing market has fell off of?
Yeah.
It's still coming down.
The number of cancellations on contracts for homes has just shot through the roof, no pun intended.
Yep. I actually talked with a real estate gal last week, and she's like, somebody hit the brakes, and we were going fast, and they hit the brakes. Now all of the builders who were just begging for a day off, they're looking forward and they're like, we're going to have some days off here in the future. Slow down, guys. Slow down. Now, Florida may be the exception, but nationwide, and I'm not even going to say Florida, I'll say Sarasota County. It's the number one growing county in the country. I mean, everyone and their damn brother is coming to Sarasota County.
Yeah, from New York and New Jersey.
And I got proof. Walmart in Sarasota has pork steaks.
Really?
Now, Patrick, explain the magic of the pork steak.
Oh my God. I remember when I was in college and I first heard about these. I'm from Chicago. I'm in Kansas City. Half the school's from St. Louis. And I start hearing about pork steaks. I'm going, what is this weird piece of meat that you people are talking about? And I went back to St. Louis with one of my buddies and had a pork steak. That he made sure that was on the menu. That was pretty magical. That was pretty magical. It's a delicacy if it's done properly. Otherwise, it's shoe leather. But
yes,
yeah, it's a great piece of meat.
Yeah, and it's strictly a St. Louis.
Yeah, yeah. And here's the proof of that. I'm out in. I was in Palm Springs. This must have been 8 years ago, and I went in there and I asked the guy, "Can you cut me some steaks out of a pork shoulder?" And the guy looks at me and he goes, "Pork steaks?" I go, "Yeah." "How thick?" I said, "An inch." He said, "You're from St. Louis, aren't you?" Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. It's like,
We're guilty.
Oh, yeah.
See, let me explain a pork steak. Imagine the biggest piece of bacon you ever seen in your life.
It's meat candy.
And then smother it with barbecue sauce.
Yeah, it's meat candy. Yeah.
It is delicious. It is little pieces of heaven. And they have them here in Sarasota at Walmart.
That's pretty, that's pretty fantastic.
That shows you how many St. Louisans are showing up down here.
Yeah. Mine get marinated overnight.
Yes.
And then there's a rub that I put on them, and half of it is brown sugar.
Patrick makes a hell of a pork steak.
So, yeah.
It literally like falls off the bone type of pork steak. Oh, good stuff. It's amazing. But my point is the housing market, especially from what I've heard, like especially around like Chicago. Apparently, Chicago came to a screeching halt because they, what was the damn article I read? Something up in Chicago. They had this big housing development planned out. They got all the roads and underground work wrapped up. And they started selling lots on like the day that it started to like going down. They went in 1 week, they went from having about 100 inquiries a day to having 3 a day. How does that happen in a week or two span? It was there just like a news blitz, like, hey, don't buy a house, everyone, right now.
And the thing is, the taxes up there are insane. The taxes in all of Illinois are insane, but the taxes in the Chicago area, the collar counties, absolutely nuts.
Yeah. Well, it's because you have Lady Lightfoot up there.
Oh, Larry?
Larry, ugliest woman in politics. And that's saying something.
That's a 5-head right there.
Oh, that woman's forehead goes all the way to her neck. And I'm not talking forward.
Oh, we were talking about Beetlejuice earlier.
Yeah. That woman has more of a receding hairline than I do. Hell, that didn't recede. That retreated. It's the Federal Reserve is literally doing this on purpose. But do they have a choice? Do you think they have a choice? Inflation, the only weapon they got is the interest rate, right? Or am I missing something?
Well, that's all that the Fed has. But as far as the government goes, they can start releasing some of the leases. They can start domestic oil production. You want to talk about starting to reduce costs, which fundamentally are attached to every aspect of our daily lives. Let's make sure that cost of a gallon of gas goes down under $2. And that diesel is at about $2.50, because diesel is needed for delivering food to their endpoints and for the farmers to get it out of the fields.
Absolutely. And Brett, I agree with you. She fell out of the ugly. No, and I'm going to add to that. She fell out of the ugly plane. There were a few ugly birds that hit her while she was falling. Then she landed on the ugly tree, and then she fell down the ugly tree. That woman is butt-ass ugly. But yeah, and the Federal Reserve, they're basically saying we are going to force the American economy, i.e. global economy, into a recession. But and they always overshoot. The Federal Reserve always overshoot. We're going right past recession. Right now we're technically in a recession. We're heading right for depression. I mean, it's in our crosshairs. Whenever we technically hit recession, but the media said, well, it's technically a recession, but it's not. That should have let you know, oh shit, they're not even acknowledging we're in a recession yet. They're going to push us into a depression. And that's when the deflation hits. Now, Patrick, let's not talk about the 1857 depression you lived through. Let's talk about the 1970s, which is more recent in your elderly memory. What?
That's giving me anxiety how we're going to set up.
Suneda is back from her trip, and she says, you're driving her crazy here. So anyway, your question was about the 1970s and the Depression.
Right. And let's see, in the 70s, you were in your 70s, in the 70s.
That's correct. I'd actually go back to the Depression era back in the 30s that Franklin Delano Roosevelt oversaw. Because the 70s was, there was, well, you know what? You're probably right, just because of the mixture of events that were taking place. We're coming off of the gold standard. We're going on to fiat. And the petrodollar is being introduced. Prime rate was at about 20%. Because they were just starting to open up underwriting for loans for the general public. Yeah, it was nuts. It was nuts. Couldn't find a friggin' job. If you didn't have one, you were toast.
This is a good. When Lightfoot was a baby, she used to be fed with a slingshot. Oh, that's great job. Great job, Clayton. Thank you for the laugh. That's fun. Fed with a sling. What a mental picture.
Yeah. You wouldn't want to get too close.
No, you'll lose a finger in that.
Well, that ugly's contagious. So, yeah, it wasn't pretty. A lot of folks out of jobs. You want to talk about a dry housing market? That was awful, and gas was now over $1. A pack of cigarettes was $1.25.
Ooh.
Yeah, going up.
Wait. A pack of cigarettes was $1.20. I can remember 1991, and a pack of Marlboros was $1.75.
Yeah. What year was that?
Like 91.
Yeah, and I'm talking about 81, 82. Because when I was in college, it was under $1. You can get them for 85 cents a pack.
Yeah.
And then in a 4-year period, they were at $1.25. Michelle and I quit when we were 26. She was 24. I was 26 when I quit. And it was at about $1.50 when I quit.
So in the 80s, when they jacked up the interest rate, that pushed us into a deflationary period. Did housing prices drop? Or did they just not build any?
No, they were dropping. There wasn't a lot of development outside of some of the more functionary housing that was still coming from GI bills, because there were a lot of guys from Vietnam that were coming back. They were going to school. They were buying homes. So GI funding had to supplement that. Outside of that, there wasn't the explosive growth that we ended up seeing later in the 80s and early 90s. I mean, hell, you go back to when your grandfather was buying land, and there were prairies as far as the eye could see back then. And the developments started to spring up in the late 80s and early 90s. I mean, I had buddies in O'Fallon, Missouri, and I think they had 300 acres. And there were for sale signs for other farms all over the place.
Yeah.
And now there's a subdivision in every one of those spots.
Yep. Actually, my grandfather owned the property for a while where
Crestwood?
Crestwood Plaza was.
Yeah.
And that he regretted selling that because he had heard a rumor that that the growth was actually going to go south and not west, like that far west. So, because Watson Road, like back then,
Oh yeah,
Watson Road, that's out in the country,
right.
you know, and because there was no Highway 270 yet.
No.
They were just really building out Highway 55 and Highway 44 and Highway 40, which was also known as Highway 64. You know, and this is all years ago. And so he sold it. Him and a few friends owned it. They sold it. Then in the late 70s, some other group like actually bought it, and that's what wound up being because the only thing out there was the drive-in, Ronnie's drive-in, and Ronnie was actually one of the guys that my grandfather knew. He knew Ronnie. And this is like years ago. And it right now, that old mall, of course, they actually tore all that down. They're actually putting houses up there now.
Yeah. Yeah, they got 3 developments going in, and they oversold it.
Yeah. Yep. It's absolutely a shit show. But hey, welcome to the Federal Reserve. And it kills me that with our government saying we protect the investor, we focus on protecting the general public. Well, who's protecting us from the Federal Reserve? I mean, the Federal Reserve literally says we need to make sure people lose their job so that we can handle the wage inflation. Translation, y'all are making too much money. We're going to have to cut you down a little bit. It's where's the government? Now, ironically enough, you know the one senator, well, actually there's 2. There's Rand Paul and Elizabeth Warren are out on like the warpath. And I do not like Pocahontas.
Oh,
Don't
no.
get me wrong.
Oh, no. No.
I
That
can't
lying piece of
stand
crap.
her. But what she said yesterday about the Federal Reserve, it sounded like something I would say. She said the Federal Reserve is on purpose bringing down the economy and going to wipe out the middle class. And she's right. I hate her, but she's right. And I'm surprised she's saying it that loud. Now, Rand Paul, hell, that's like a generational thing. Him and his friggin' dad have like Federal Reserve, like matching tattoos. And, but it's cryptos, folks. Cryptos. The Bitcoin dropped a little the last couple days. I hope you bought the dip, because as we go into this catastrophe that the Federal Reserve is making, it's going to get ugly, folks. It's going to get real damn ugly. So now we're going to wrap up the show. Patrick, how can someone who's sitting there looking at their wealth of cryptos or their portfolio get a hold of Calyx Solutions for a crypto laptop?
You can email me at info@calixsolutions.io or call me at 702-845-8276.
And you can also send him a text.
You could.
Because he don't want you to.
No. I have stubby fingers, and I'm arthritic. So
I got the hand gout.
yeah. Which makes me cranky.
Yes. So I recommend you email or call. Don't text, because you might get a fat-fingered response that may insult you.
Actually, what's funny is I get every voicemail gets converted into a text. So there's no way around it. There's no way around it. Believe me, I'm not smiling when I'm responding to them, but I do.
Well, I hear you. All right, guys and gals, I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock Central Time. Oh, wait. Yeah. Yep. See you then. Patrick, I will talk to you, and I will see you on Friday.
Very good.
Love you, brother.
Love you. Take
Bye-bye.
care, everyone. Adios.